Let's kind of just do a mold 101 for a lot of people listening. Some probably maybe have no mold issues at all, or maybe they have health symptoms that are connected to it. Who knows? Mold is so many different symptoms connected to it if there's a toxicity in your body. So why is mold a problem? I mean, if I'm outside and there's, leaves that are just naturally breaking down, why aren't I getting sick there? But mold in the house is a bigger problem. Can you break that down?
Sure. And quite honestly, there's a little bit of a fallacy there in that some people think,
Hmm.
well, I can't get sick from mold outside. I know that my wife and daughter, when they were severely affected by mold, my
Hmm.
wife couldn't run her compost heap anymore because she would get sick even
Mm.
from doing that. And for a while, she couldn't even garden. So she was so sensitive to the mold that just a little bit would set her off. Now, why is mold indoors typically worse than outdoors? Well, it's because we seal up this toxic box,
Mm.
right? So basically, what you've done is create an incubator. You've got completely closed in house. So it's wonderfully energy efficient. There's no communication of inside and outside air, no
Right.
dilution of toxins. Mold spores are ubiquitous, they're absolutely everywhere. And so we build our houses out of mold candy, which would be paper
Right.
backing on drywall, it's paper
Right.
backing on insulation,
Mold
it's
candy.
wood
That's funny.
members. Yeah. And so the only thing missing is water. And that's why I always say one of my little catchphrases is no water, no mold. If you can keep
Mm.
the water out, you keep the mold out. And when I say keep the water out, that means humidity less than 60% and no standing water. Mold grows preferentially based on the amount of water activity. Um, so keeping that water low keeps the mold low.
Very good. We're going to go into that in a minute because I have so many patients that are like, "Hey, I've never had a water leak." It's like, yeah, but you got 65% humidity in your
Hmm.
basement. And that's going to be an
Yes.
incubator for mold, and that will eventually work its way through the house where you have not necessarily an attic leak or a leak in the drywall. You have high humidity, which is creating an incubation for mold. That happens a lot, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. If there were no known water events within a house and the house had a basement, you're just about guaranteed the basement's going to be the highest levels in the house. And that's because it's subgrade and you've always got some water up against those walls, external walls. And so there is some type of humidity condition that will lead to mold growth.
And so why is that? Just because the cement foundation's kind of creating a heat sink between the wet environment on the ground on the outside, and there's some kind of moisture transmitted through that. Is that what's
Mhm.
happening?
Cement's like a sponge. Most people think of it as a hard surface, but
Mm.
water goes right through it. It may not even appear wet, but it's producing humidity inside. To give you an example, I had this beautiful house here in Corrales, New Mexico. I really liked it. Flat roof house, lots of mistakes, but it had this koi pond
Yeah.
in the front. And the dang pond, I had to put like 100 gallons of water a week in it because it was leaking, and I didn't have time to fix it because it had koi in it. Well, all that water was going underneath my foundation and I had no water leaks at all, but very high humidity. I mean, it was running 65, 70%
Oof.
in the desert. And it was from
Wow.
this pond in this water underneath the foundation. This was early on. I'm hopefully a lot smarter now,
Yeah.
but I didn't really pick it up until a little later what the cause was.
Wow, unbelievable.
Yeah.
So we have the humidity kind of factor. So we have to look at humidity. So we should get some kind of a humidity meter, whether it's attached to your thermostat or individual detecting device. Now, I spoke with you earlier. Maybe you changed your assessment. I think last time we chatted, you said you wanted it like 50% or less. Now you said 60. So is
Oh,
60 the better gauge or
60 is the drop dead cutoff. 50 is like
drop
a
dead?
target. Yeah. I really prefer 35 to 40%. 50, I'm
Hmm.
starting to go, okay. See, the problem is if you're at 50 on average, you could have isolated pockets in your house of 60, right? So you're just doing the best you can to keep that humidity low.
Now, after we spoke, I purchased a whole house dehumidifier. I got one of the April Air versions that covers 5,000 square feet.
Mhm.
And I have that for the most part attached to my basement. So my basement, I keep at about 48% all the time. That works great. And then during the summer months, when the air conditioner's on, that has a natural dehumidifying effect. So for the
Mhm.
most part, we're good. And then in the off season, I have Nest thermostats that monitor the humidity. So I'm always keeping it below 50%. Do you think that's a pretty good gauge for most people to achieve?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, that's a good setup. Yeah, down here we don't have as much of a problem with humidity, but especially, like Kentucky, we know a certain person there
Yeah.
that has to
Yeah.
wrestle with that. And so,
Yep.
the natural thinking is, well, dilution is the solution to pollution. So,
Pollution. Yep.
yeah, bring in that outside air. But a certain person brought in so much outside air that their HVAC system was dripping water. And so you have to kind of manage this and be responsible with bringing in the fresh air, dehumidifying, and not creating mold problems by doing those two things.